Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Gonoude, and today I will be discussing and analyzing the issue of liberal eugenics. Now, eugenics, as some of us may be familiar with from past history classes, is a term that's largely given a negative connotation. For the purpose of this speech, I will offer the history of eugenics and how my topic of discussion differs. All in all, I will be speaking about the ethical concerns that circle around prenatal genetic selection. In 1883, Sir Francis Galton first keyed the term eugenics and defined it as the following. He said that eugenics was the study of all agencies under human control which can improve or impair the racial quality of future generations. Now, what did he mean by this? First of all, we can look at the exigence of the early 20th century America. According to a Creighton University publication, the economy was also uncertain during this time period, and social inequalities between different segments of society were quite visible. Social Darwinism was something that helped explain this phenomena, and it explained so in the following ways. It said that increased poverty and the declination of society ultimately would call upon or have to push for the employment of social engineering. Social engineering included things like the sterilization of males that were considered degenerative, or certain marriage laws that prohibited certain types of people in society from mating to continue what was considered degenerative. So eugenicists considered degenerative qualities as the following inside the human gene pool. These included poverty, anyone that had depression, schizophrenia, people suffering from alcoholism, people that had a rebellious attitude, or people that were often found in criminalistic circumstances. All in all, there was no documented genetic relationship to such claims, and they've been largely unfounded principles that have guided this side of the argument. So what is liberal eugenics? Liberal eugenics is a 21st century phenomenon that isn't necessarily free from negative connotation. It is the alteration of the genetic makeup through in vitro fertilization. This can be used as a means for gender selection, avoidance of hereditary disease, or the stimulation of the potential for certain genes that are responsible for certain matured qualities. Now, the pro-liberal eugenics stance ultimately goes as follows. Pro-liberal eugenicists believe that this practice can only make a person better, but without any necessarily concrete advantages over one another. Still, the parents' genes are in the children, and what it essentially does is it enhances the biological opportunity of certain traits. Now, this means that if scientists are able to manipulate a certain gene, then the child should have a better chance of being able to exercise that gene to make more use of it than the average individual. According to philosopher Nicholas Agar, the traits of the individuals result from complex interactions of genes and environment. Another point that comes from this side of the debate is that it is used to eliminate disease or avoid the passing of genetic inheritance, and of course one can see the positives in this. Also, this can be used for gender selection, also known as choosing the sex of your child. Now, this can be used as, in the pro stance, as one exercising personal preference. In a CBS News report entitled Choosing Your Baby's Gender, a 2009 report showed that at the IVF Institute in Fairfax, Virginia, they successfully genetically selected the sex of a couple's unborn child. Now, overall, the clinic sees 90% success in choosing girls and about 70 to 75% in choosing boys. The procedure, however, which costs about $2,500, raises questions of ethical consideration that are worrying of opening Pandora's box to traits such as intelligence or race. This ultimately leads us into the concept of transhumanism, ultimately making a human that is not human. Now, as we lead into the next topic of discussion, we'll look at the anti-liberal eugenics stance. In the 1997 science fiction film Gattaca first explored the concept of transhumanism, also known as liberal eugenics. Now, this movie raised critical questions on the morality of genetic selection and manipulation, and ultimately serves as a good platform for this side of the debate. The pro stance would say that this is the next step in human evolution by employing available means of technology, and the anti-stance, however, would claim that this extends beyond the natural limits of man, also leaning back and tying into our idea of transhumanism. The anti-liberal eugenicists would say that this is a selfish practice of playing God. Now, one would think that being able to have such power to determine the outcome of essentially our human race, or being able to push it towards certain qualities, would be an act of playing God, which of course feeds into the negative aspect of what we are discussing. Also, anti-liberal eugenicists believe that this is invading the rights of the unborn child. Ultimately, this is deciding the future of the baby through genetic characteristic changes. And finally, the anti-liberal eugenicists would say that this is only going to feed into upper class dominance, to revert what we first discussed about the original eugenics, which we talked about having certain deficiencies that weren't necessarily societal deficiencies, but one would claim so in order to search for the perfect child or human baby. Overall, the practice of liberal eugenics is a clearly controversial issue that contains multitudes of complexities, but it does have its advantages. Such as advantages are dominantly the treatment of disease or avoidance of disease. Nicholas Agar also states that if gene therapy is medicine, then it should be restricted to the treatment of disease, which I fully agree with. However, liberal eugenics may have a future, but I believe that in its current state, it is a minimally effective practice. Thank you very much.